stripe kit on a 67 Camaro. It belongs to a friend of mine, Joe. His nickname is Enfield Joe. He's from Enfield, Connecticut. And he's down here in Florida now, retired. And he plays around with some classic cars like we do. And he's got a really cool 67 Camaro and asked me to give him a hand doing some stripes. And we've got a 69 stripe kit. We're gonna custom do it. We're gonna cut it up a little bit. It's kind of like a Yanko stripe. It came from Graphic Express over in Inverness, Florida. We've used those on some Mopar stripes and some Mustang stripes. I really like those guys. And that's it. So usually I like to cut these really close to the edge, and this way I can get them really close to the body lines where we're gonna put them. When you first get the stripe kit, it's got several inches of additional material on both sides that you don't need. So I always take the scissors first, trim out all the graphics, and get them close. So when I'm putting them on, I don't have a whole bunch of extra material to deal with, and that's all. So you're gonna follow me through this, and then we'll get some after pictures once it's all done. Okay, first piece going on. And Joe just informed me that we're gonna have to trim it and cut it, and it's definitely not gonna be just a stripe and go. So, I always like to wet both sides, get your surface wet, not both sides of the stripe. You don't want this part to get wet, but you want your part you're applicating to the car. And then of course the car. So what we're gonna do is follow the body line on this. And then we're gonna wrap it around, and I'm gonna cut it into this little seam back there. We got some soapy water on there, and that's helping us move this stripe around. I think I'm on the body line there pretty good. Couple different style squeegees. Do a little squeegee in. I'm gonna peel it back, take a look at where we're at. I think we're on it. All right. There's going to be a lot of curves and bends, so this would be a tricky one. Going to have to take our time with it. All right, this is a soft spongy squeegee that I got from way back. I used to tint windows, and then I got a hard plastic one. I mentioned before in a few of the other graphic ones that I like to wrap them with a little bit of cut up t-shirt material, and then at least you don't take your plastic and gouge into the decal here. Try to squeeze your water out. Okay, that should be good. All right, so because we're doing some creative cutting, this back piece changes thickness one way or the other. I'm gonna go with the door first, so when we cut this piece in, I'll explain it to you when we're doing it, but it's gonna be a little bit different thickness from this part to that part. So I wanna make sure we got it blended in with the door stripe properly. So normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm gonna go right into the door, and like I said, then cut that piece in there. So a little bit of soapy water, and I just put like a cap full of dishwashing soap in here when I do this. Try to keep everything clean. following that body line best we can. By the way, I think Joe's going to sell the car too. He kind of just fixes them up and then sells them. It's $350, and super neat car. It's automatic. Nice black interior. I'm going to take the soft one first. Run that out like that. I'm going to take my paper towel, get some water off the top. Go down home stripe with it. And then now's the time to check your angle. And if your angle's not good, pull it back off. You can pull it back off. You can put some soapy water back there and then put it back on. But once it dries, it's really difficult to get off. Hard plastic squeegee with the rag around it. All right. This is basically getting all the water out of it. Any kind of bubbles. All right, I'll get set up for that back piece. We are cutting this stripe, obviously, into the wheel well. Like I was saying, it's totally custom for the most part. It's got a little Camaro flare, but it's made up for the 69, which would be above with a body line that's higher. So with the body line being lower, we're cutting this one into the wheel wells. Okay, now I got my door stripe to go by. That's why I put that door stripe on there first, sort of. And then when it's still soapy, I can still move it. Paper towel. Once I do the first swipe, I usually try to get some water off of it so it doesn't flow back behind the decal. And then I'll get my hard plastic one. So we're gonna have to, once this is dry, both of them, we're gonna have to do some creative cutting along the wheel well lip. Some of these cars get the molding. This one had it. Joe's not going to put it back on. We're just going to go with the open white color of the paint. All right. So at this time, I'm going to go back over everything. Just kind of push down some of the bends with my fingers, and then this stripe starts to dry. Soap behind it, and it'll start to stick on your bends a little bit better. And then once I peel off the backing tape, we'll be able to trim everything out the way we want to do it with the knife. Put this little piece in here, and then do a final piece in front. Small enough pieces, sometimes you don't even need to do both sides of the decal or both sides of your surfaces. Sometimes you can just get the fender and leave this sticky, and there's enough on it to move it around. If it was a bigger stripe, then I would wet the decal backing and car surface. Okay, that looks like it's about there. It was chilly this morning. Started out in the 50s. The other day I think it was in the 40s in the morning time, but the daytime's been getting really nice, hitting the 70s. Sometimes we'll put it in the sun and let this decal dry really good before we pull the masking backing off of everything. Feels like a little paint blem or something. Oh no, that's the emblem hole. Yep, that's cool. Emblem hole. So the emblem's gonna go right into the decal. It's gonna look slick. Hard plastic. I know I said that a couple hundred times. Okay, me and Joe are going to discuss how far we want this front piece here, and then we'll get the camera back. A little Sharpie. The body line fades away once it gets into the wheel well area. So I'd like to have this bottom line of the stripe right in the center of the body line. So the body line goes up to the front of the fender really nice, so I can follow that. I can see that line really well, but I can't see it where it starts to disappear over here. So I took a little Sharpie and put a dot in it that's even with the body line. So when I go to put this on there, this far end, I can get right over the Sharpie dot, and then I'm good, I think. I hope. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm not gonna hit the stripe this time, I'm just gonna hit the car. It's a nice small piece. Some guys even put them on dry. I can't do that, I'm not that good. When you do them dry, there's not much room for error. Like that. And like that. See, I'm not far enough back where we can make the cut. That should be good. Well, pulling it off again. Okay, like that. I like it a lot. Okay, driver's side, I'm not gonna use the word done, but driver's side is set up. I'm gonna go back on everything, trim, roll decals into the door lines and the door gaps, things like that. And then if it's dry enough, we'll pull the masking backing off of it and reveal the stripe. If I start to pull the masking off and it starts to pull the stripe from the car, we'll wait, or maybe go to the other side and then put it in the sun, and then the sun will dry everything up and then we can peel it up nicely. Okay, so pulling off the backing tape, basically, this is a difficult wrap right here, and I'm gonna cut this right at that little body line where it goes into the tail light panel, and it should look pretty nice and clean wrapped around. It wouldn't make that curve with the backing still on it, so I had to peel it off ever so slightly, and then take the vinyl and then stretch it and make the bend. I can show you on the next one. And then we're just slowly gonna pull off the backing. And this is, you know, how you tell if it's gonna be dry to the car or not. You gotta make sure that decal, that vinyl is not lifting or showing any kind of air bubbles. If it is, then you probably should wait a little bit longer before you pull this stuff off. But it's always a nice reveal, taking this off. Satisfying, nice and clean. And then we'll move on to the next. So this here, I'm going to attempt to make a nice cut, showing off some of the white part down here, and that's that. It needs to be good and dry before you do that, so you don't slide the vinyl with your knife. I guess you can keep it rolling. Joe will move over to the door. So I'm wrapping the doors. When I say wrap, I'm going around with the vinyl. Sometimes you can make a nice flush cut, but sometimes the edge of that vinyl over time will start to peel off the paint. So I like to make an actual wrap around and go into the doors and into the fenders. So I'll open that up, and a lot of times it's not sticking real well in there when it has the backing masking on the back of it. So sometimes you just gotta pull off that masking backing. And this is kind of like what I did over there. See how that's not stuck real well? And I even have a wrinkle in it over here. So before you go and make your final application there, I'm gonna peel it back off the back. I'm gonna grab that little stripe, pinstripe portion of this, and I'm gonna stretch it, get that wrinkle out of it, push it out, and then wrap it nice and clean. I can go to the middle one, like to pull on it so it's not wrinkly or anything like that on the bend. Wrap it around, grab your last one, give it a little tug, because this vinyl will stretch. Give it a little tug, and then boom. So, pretty nice, clean, wrapped around, and the longevity would be better, like I said, rather than just cutting it flush and having a little edge to catch on every time you wash the car, you know, with wax and things like that. And then we'll move forward with peeling this back nice and slow. If you do it like this, you got more of a chance of pulling that vinyl off. So I always try to keep it close to the car, close to the panel, close to the paint, and then just kind of slide it down. This is gloss black, obviously. Sometimes it's hard to tell in the video if it's a matte black. Okay, so our piece is off, and now I have to do the same thing in that inside of the door. So we'll open the door all the way, and then hopefully I can access the inner portion of the stripe. Yeah, actually, come on in there with the camera, and you can take a peek in there. Maybe I can even get my fingers in from here. I can't, but you guys see what I mean? I'm gonna go back over where Joe has the camera, and I'm gonna tug on those little vinyl stripes, make sure there's no wrinkles in them, and then I'm gonna wrap them just like I did the edge of the door here. If it's light enough in there. So that's wrapping the edges. Pretty important to do. Yep. And then, heck, I guess we're on the roll. If you want to keep it rolling, we can probably do that here. Leave that door open. So I think it's dry enough. I'm gonna come over here. I'll pull the decal off. It's backing tape. Yep. Got 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, something like that. And then give it a little stretch. And boom, right around the edge. Little stretch. Something like that. And we'll work our way forward. Remember, we got some holes in there for the emblems. That's gonna look really cool when it's finished off. Looks like Joe just put on some new Cooper Cobras. I like the Cooper Cobes. There's not many choices when it comes to white raised letters. I think now just BF Goodrich and Cooper Cobes have the market cornered. All right, we got 3 stripies dangling. Super not important. I don't need to wrap these because we're gonna try to make a cut on that body line. But now's a good time just to make sure there's no wrinkles in them. They're sticking pretty well to each other. That's not supposed to happen. So just work those out. And there's my Sharpie line on this side, right there. Remember I was saying earlier to follow the body line. It starts to disappear, so I'm wanting to mark it. And this way I can have that thing straight. And then, might as well go to the front. We're pushing our luck as far as dryness, but honestly, this is, I think this is a 3M graphic stripe. I think it said 3M, which I really like. And I mentioned earlier Graphic Express. Graphic Express got a good product. There's another vinyl company that a few of these guys use. It's Avery Vinyl, and it's all right, I guess. They're the 2 major ones. But this stripe seems to be going on really, really nice. And everything so far is just to our liking. Now leave that loose. And then after I pull this piece off, I'll close the door, sort of. And then Joe, if you want to back up and get a big picture of everything and kind of get an idea of the finished product. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. So it's a little bit soapy still over here, so it's not sticking really well, so we can wait. No biggie. I'm gonna trim that off anyway to expose the body line. Gonna trim that off. And, oh, I don't have the back piece done, but anyway, I'm gonna close this. Looking for the sweet. Okay, right now I'm just doing some trimming and trying to sort of follow the body line in here. A little bit tedious doing that. And then this side will be done. All the stripes are wrapped around like we were saying. And when we got the other side all on and it's drying, we haven't pulled the masking off yet. And like I said, right now, just making some cuts. Trying to follow this line here along the wheel well opening. There's a little Sharpie mark there. That was to mark our body line. We got a Sharpie mark there, so we could take a little bit of Windex, I think, and that'll come off. And that's basically the finished product. Joe, you can show them how we wrapped around the back end into the tail light panel. And then maybe get a, I'll close the door, you can get a side view. Okay, we wrapped it up. You just got to hear it. Remember, it's for sale too. He's gonna finish up some trim and things like that, and then it's gonna be up for sale. And stripe is done. Hope you guys like it. Please remember, subscribe, comment. If you have any questions and I can help, please let me know.